Hadley Heath Manning and Washington Times contributor Eric Schiffer. Thank you both for being here. Hadley, let me start with you. I mean, the fact is the Founding Fathers set up the system to avoid a tyranny of the majority. So when Kellyanne Conway says, look, we won, and that there is a mandate, is she accurate?
I believe she is. There's a mandate certainly for change. Americans are sick of the way that things have been happening in Washington. That's why they wanted to elect not only a Republican, a change in party, but a real outsider Republican at that. So people are looking for a breath of fresh air in Washington and in the states. If you look at state control of legislatures and governorships, Republicans are dominating there as well.
Well, Eric, I brought up the intention of the founders who did set up the Electoral College to avoid a tyranny of the majority. But the fact is that Kellyanne Conway brought out the fact that Democrats have lost several seats in Congress. What does that say?
Well, it says that certainly the Republican message was stronger. They focused on jobs. They were focusing on the economy. Trump was, and I think they benefited from Trump's, I think, strong focus there, and that was the reason. And there's no question the Democrats read the room wrong. They blew it. And it's simple as that.
So Kellyanne Conway discussed last night's exchange this morning on Fox and Friends. We're going to play a clip from that.
The fireworks yesterday really were grounded in the fact that members of the Clinton campaign were still accusing us of things because they're still running the permanent campaign, I suppose, that just aren't true. The idea that we give a platform to certain people in this campaign, the idea that it's Jim Comey's fault that Hillary Clinton has been in public life for decades. It's time for them to do what President Obama and Secretary Clinton have done, which is respect the election results, not talk about a rigged system or the popular vote. We won fairly and squarely, and that road ran through some pretty blue states like Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. I understand that they're angry. I understand some of them are bitter, but they made it very personal last night.
Eric, is it time for both sides to just move on from the election?
I think they should move on. I think it's time to give the new president an opportunity to do his thing. I think he's actually making some really smart moves with respect to the economy. I'm a businessman, and I see the economy doing really well under President Trump. And I think that even before the election, I don't know that many people, certainly on the Democratic side or the independent side, which I exist, thought that. And he's changing minds through the moves that he's making.
So, Hadley, supporters of the president-elect in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, they're ramping up efforts to stop the election recounts before they even get going. At this point, should Republicans just take the high road and back off? I mean, I think in Wisconsin, Hillary Clinton, the recounts, she's got all of one new vote.
That's right. I think it is time for everyone to move on, to try to take the high road, respect the outcome of the election. Democrats for years have relied on identity politics, courting young voters, women voters, voters of color. And unfortunately, in this election cycle for them, that strategy backfired because too many Americans felt left out. They didn't feel that the message from the Democrats was resonating with them. They didn't think the policies from the Democrats were moving our country forward. And so it's time to move forward to the new administration, the new Congress, and to new policies that will bring change.
Very quickly to both of you, let me start with you, Hadley. Will the Democratic Party look in the mirror and say, we did something wrong, let's figure that out? Or are they going to keep pointing the finger of blame elsewhere?
Well, I think both parties need to step back and learn what we can from this election. And, I mentioned identity politics. Unfortunately, that fosters a real us versus them mentality that too many Americans are feeling divides our families, our country, our states. And if we want to move forward, we have to talk about what policies work best for everyone and how to explain that those policies work best for everyone. So to get away from that us versus them kind of fight.
Eric, it is true, and it's a small number, but there are white supremacists who are now attracted to the Republican message. How does the Republican Party separate from those, repugnant white supremacists?
I think Trump has to continue to disavow it, and he needs to continue to make sure that people that are in positions of power that he appoints disavow it. I think Bannon should probably go on record and make some statements with respect to that because, look, the message is somewhat mixed. I mean, there's no question that they created a big tent. And Bannon certainly with Breitbart does, and he recognizes that the alt-right has in its tent a certain portion of this faction that is questionable. So they really need to step up. To really be a president of the people, they're going to need to do more in that respect because people that are certainly of color and women, they're questioning the underlying agenda based upon the fact that there was a bigger tent in this election.
And I want to thank both of you, Hedley Heath Manning and Eric Schiffer, for joining us on Risk and Reward.